Hello, this is Kyrasis, and in this Blood Death Knight analysis video, I will be providing a quick overview on what is changing for Blood Death Knights in Mythic Plus for Season 4 of Dragonflight, based on the latest theory crafting for the specialization. If you want a more detailed breakdown, you can check out my written guide, which is linked in the video description below. Alternatively, you can ask a question in Discord or in the YouTube comments. In any case, this is meant to just touch on the highlights of what is changing, and it assumes that you are already relatively up to date on Blood Death Knights in the Dragonflight expansion. At a high level, not too much is changing here. We are moving back to the Season 2 tier set bonus, which has implications that I have already covered in previous videos. The only major build implication this has on what we are doing is that it has a particularly strong synergy with the Umbilicus Eternus talent, so just as we saw in Season 2, that talent will likely see increased use compared to the other seasons. Nothing else with talents changes significantly enough to affect decision making. Meanwhile, the only gameplay implication of this tier set bonus is that you want to play around the random vampiric blood procs as best you can in your defensive cooldown rotation, though no changes actually occur to your core ability priorities beyond defensive cooldown usage. Far and away the most impactful thing to happen with Season 4 has to do with itemization, where we have access to 3 raids worth of loot, items from the original Dragonflight dungeons, and up to the heroic track items from the Dawn of the Infinite Mega Dungeon. The Helm enchant from Amir Drasil is also still available, so don't forget to use that on your items. The enchant effect scales with the item level of your helm that you put it on, so it is a pretty respectable power boost just as it is now in Season 3. We will also regularly be getting a currency called Antique Bronze Bullions, which will allow us to quickly and reliably get unique effect items and trinkets from all 3 raids. For unique effect items, we are very interested in quickly upgrading our legendary axe, and then eventually getting the very rare fire rings from the Vault of the Incarnates raid, which have effects that can be triggered from the legendary axe itself, instead of having to use suboptimal embellishment effects like we did back in Season 1 to proc them. As for trinkets, many of the greatest hits from the first 3 seasons are still available to obtain at competitive item levels. From Season 1, Icon and Grief Torch will be returning. From Season 2, Chromatic Essence, Neltharian's Call of Suffering, and Beacon to the Beyond will also be returning, though Beacon to the Beyond has been nerfed more heavily than some of the other options on this list. Season 2 and Season 3 both had the Prophetic Stone Scales trinket available at competitive item levels, which is also making a return, though we can only get it at heroic item level this time, while Season 3 exclusively had Tainted Rage Heart and Cataclysmic Signet Brand. All things considered, the Cheat Death Trinket remains a strong option in most Mythic Plus situations, for many of the same reasons that it has been strong in Season 2 and Season 3. Unlike the other trinket options, the benefits of Prophetic Stone Scale can't be directly compared to other options, but what log-based data we do have on the Cheat Death Trinket is pretty favorable for its use at a wide range of key levels. Whispering Incarnate Icon and Chromatic Essence are particularly valuable if a majority of the group is using them, but their power level scales with the number of people who have these trinkets equipped, and if you don't have at least 2 other people in the group wearing them, you don't want to be wearing them either yourself. In that case, you will have better options available. Options such as Call to Suffering and Rage Heart, which are unconditionally stronger trinkets if you find yourself in a situation where the above trinkets are not desirable. Rage Heart has taken a decent amount of small nerfs throughout Season 3. It is still a very flexible trinket compared to something like Call to Suffering, but its overall benefits are technically a bit less on average than what Call to Suffering offers, so you might want to keep that in mind. Situationally, you can also consider some other trinkets that will provide less value over the course of the entire dungeon, but may excel in specific areas that can give them situationally high value. As was the case in Season 3, Cataclysmic Signet Brand does very high single target damage, assuming it is at high stacks. The trinket is very weak when it does not have high stacks, which is what limits it from having good overall value throughout the course of a dungeon. But if you are having trouble with a specific portion of the dungeon that both places a high value on consistent single target damage, and you're able to reliably pre-ramp your stacks up to high levels right before entering this section, then you might be able to justify its use. Meanwhile, Manic Grief Torch provides your best option for on-demand single-target burst damage. Given the dungeon pool, we probably won't have as much need for burst damage tech options as we did in Season 2, which had multiple dungeons that emphasized it, on bosses in particular. That being said, the last boss of Brackenhide Hollow still exists in Season 4, so who knows? Finally, Ward of Faceless Ire gives you access to an external shield effect that can be used to keep your teammates alive through predictable burst damage. I'm not a huge fan of trinkets like this myself, but it is true that they can deal with certain types of situations that other trinkets just can't help with at all. Again, these 3 trinkets are not options that you would generally use, but they are specific tools that are available if specific problems arise in your keys. To close out the topic of items, embellishments don't particularly change this season. Unlike Season 1, we don't need to use embellishments to proc the very rare fire rings from Raid, and no major tuning has occurred on embellishments that we saw the previous season. As such, we will still be looking to use the Allied Chestplate of Generosity and Elemental Lariat for Mythic Plus, with the Shadowflame patch as an alternative if you do not have close to full sockets. So, that's it for the quick Season 4 update. As things stand, the War Within is going to start getting more attention than Dragonflight content now that the War Within Alpha has begun. As always, feel free to stop by the channel Discord if you want to talk about Blood Death Knight theory crafting, general Mythic Plus questions, or if you would like a Mythic Plus log review. The channel Discord information, as well as my personal Discord contact information, is in the video description below. And if you want to make it easier for other people to find this content, feel free to upvote the video and subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, good luck and have fun.